Sharon. Is this the time we were supposed to say Sharon is amazing?
Yeah. I think at the end of the third verse can be the same music. It won't sound weird. It's a long word. We can talk about it now.
We welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland and our worship service today. I share with you these words by Richard Gilbert. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome who entered this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are in your journey, we bid you welcome.
We are called to worship today by the words of Joan Javier Duval. You are beloved and welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved and welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside, or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, let us worship together.
We light our chalice with these words of Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.
This candle has not met with live flame in a time, and maybe we are feeling the same way. We haven't taken time to welcome our newest members in a while, and so we want to take time this morning to do that. So I invite, physically or in spirit, virtually with us, Christine Bryan, Laura Imbornoni, Erica Keck, Brittany Keene, and Kristen Van Kranenberg forward to be welcomed today. And I know it'll be a little awkward. I'll invite you to look at the camera so that our members can see you and know who you are. And if you want to unmask a little bit so they can see your faces, I think we'll be okay with that in this space. We have a special new member covenant that is by Reverend Laura Randall that Allison Bashian has adapted beautifully for us today. And so, new members, we welcome you, our newest members, into the UUCC community. We are so glad you are here and have chosen this community of fellow seekers to travel with you on your life journeys. Will you accept our gifts of fellowship and service and engage with us as we seek to create a community and a world dedicated to love and justice? If so, respond, we will.
We will. We will.
And congregation, will you welcome these new members with the warmth and comfort of your fellowship and seek to add your strengths and talents to the new gifts that they bring to us? If so, respond, we will.
We will.
Congregation listening in the live stream, we may need a little more from you. Please respond, we will. Thank you. Let us commit ourselves to this community with the following words that bind us together in common purpose and common love in the midst of our beautiful diversity of belief. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. I I invite our board president, Carol Gay, to offer a special reading.
What is this church? By Gila Jones. What is this church? It is not the building, except to the extent that we have chosen it as our gathering space. It is not the minister, except to the extent that we have called him to inspire and guide our spiritual lives. It is not the music, except to the extent that we make it when we blend our voices together to produce sounds lovelier than any one of us could make alone. It is not even the beliefs, for we Unitarian Universalists have no single underlying belief, only the combined beliefs of each one of us. The church is the people. Without our committed members, this church would not exist. We are this church. Without us, nothing more than a dream. But with us, it can be anything we wish it to be.
We have some gifts for our newest members today, and if you are not able to be present with us, please know that we'll hang on to these for you for the next time that you are present. And we were going to celebrate with some refreshments after the service today, but because of the weather, we're going to save that for next week. So expect a little special time after our in-gathering service where we can welcome one another, and especially our newest members. Of course I want to hand out the flowers.
We hope if you're at home, you'll join in singing with us. Let it be a dance. concerns is a time in our service when we pause to consider those things that either weigh on our hearts or lift them in joy and share them in community. If we were all here in person, we would invite you to drop a glass stone into our bowl, but in our virtual format, we will do that and invite you to take a moment to think about what is in your heart today while we drop those stones on your behalf into our water bowl.
It can be a challenge when we are doing things virtually to feel like our joys and concerns have a place to go. As I place the final stone this morning, I just invite you to take time today or this week to connect with someone in our community, especially as we are talking about how we journey together, so that our joys might be magnified and our burdens lessened. Even if we can't do it in person here today, there will be other opportunities this week, and I hope you take advantage.
Well, good morning. It's a little strange to be addressing a handful of people here and mostly to cameras, but I hope that the distance between us is only in our minds and not in our hearts. Karen, can I thank you for that beautiful rendition of A Long and Winding Road? So appropriate for talking about road trips, which I've been thinking about this week since we were discussing worship. I was thinking about all the road trips I took when I was younger, and for me that was actually usually with my church youth group. My family didn't do much when it came to traveling, but my youth group did. And in Florida, there's always some place to go, theme parks, water parks, beaches, so we would have a church van and, we would travel around. And whenever we went, there was always sort of like a shared competition, sometimes unspoken, but very often made explicit. And it was about who would be the first to say the unforgivable phrase. The phrase that no one wants to hear on road trips. And even though everyone knew about it, inevitably, every time, someone would give voice to the worst words that you can hear while you're traveling. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Has that question ever been asked by someone when the answer was, yes, we are here? You asked that exactly at the moment we arrived. We are exactly where we're going. The trip is over. But let's be real. That has never happened. In the history of the world, you're never there when you're asking. So I assume everybody knows that phrase. I mean, it's a cliche phrase these days. When I got older, I learned that there's actually sort of different versions of this, including even an adult version of this very same idea, except this one was actually about plane travel. And that's when I moved to the East Coast, and I learned that people on the East and West Coast refer to the rest of the country as flyover states. It's a charming idea, isn't it? The whole idea is that, those are real places, the East and the West Coast, everything in between. Well, who would want to go there? It might not seem like it, but there's a shared mistake in these ideas, and it's something that we should learn a great deal from. And we can learn from it by calling it out. Sort of the tyranny of boredom. This car ride is long and I'm bored. Are we there yet? This flight takes forever and I'm bored. Why are there so many flyover states? It's a way of completely missing where you are because you only care about where you're going. And what's interesting is that if you realize that dynamic at play, it's actually a huge part of our lives in ways that we don't even sort of realize, even when we're not on trips. For example, I remember when I was in middle school, how often I would tell myself, I just have to wait another year or two, and then finally I'm going to be in high school. Or when I was in college, by the time I was getting to my senior year, you just couldn't wait until you'd finally be graduated and on to the next thing. The effect is that you're always focused on where you aren't. Are we there yet? And maybe that's the secret. I've said before that no one has ever said yes to the question, are we there yet? But maybe we should always answer yes to that question. Because we are always already there. Because there is all around us all the time. Flyover states are a fiction. The future is an illusion. And next year never really exists because it's never not this year. Even if you're going somewhere specific, you will be in specific somewheres every moment of the journey. Why does that matter? Because we're UUs. And that means we care about seeing the world and seeing reality in a way that is true and authentic. And that means not giving in to our boredom with the world, or not letting ourselves get away with ignoring those places and peoples and times and occasions that are not exactly what we care about. Because we realize that it matters to see all of the theirs that are out there. So are we there yet? Yeah, we sure are.
For our meditation this morning, I share with you these thoughts on the distinction between a covenant and creed by Lisa Ward. A covenant is not a definition of a relationship, it is the framework for our relating. A covenant leaves room for chance and change. It is humble toward evolution. It claims, I will abide with you in this common endeavor, be present as best I can in our becoming. This calls for a level of trust, courage, and sacrifice that needs to be nurtured, renewed, and affirmed on a regular basis. A creed creates a static truth, something that does not incorporate new insights and realities. A covenant is a dance of co-creation, keeping in step with one another in the flow of our lives. A creed seeks uniformity and a unison voice. A covenant seeks harmony and a shared voice. Sometimes we may arrive at a unison, but it is not required. A creed gives authority to the statement. A covenant gives authority to shared intention. A creed creates an us and them. A covenant invites relationship. A creed is a prescription that must be relied on. A covenant relies on the treasures of shared truth. The overall trust within this covenant is in the truth, capital T, something which no one person can fully see, yet something which each and every person can come to know in glimpses, in another story, in epiphanies. Truth is ever changing in our seeking to understand because of our limited perspectives. We grow into a deeper sense of the meaning of all things when we take our journeys seriously with full heart and mind. The courage within this covenant is in the acceptance and celebration of life with all of its challenges, pain, ironies, and joys. And the sacrifice within this covenant is in the letting go of dogma, of assumptions, of control, and giving over to a greater wisdom which comes to us in bits and pieces. The task of this covenant is to take responsibility for the freedom we espouse. We know that we are interconnected and that what we do creates ripples of hope, despair, of affirmation or negation. What we do with and for one another is powerful beyond our imagining.
As you may know, our offerings each week are contributed to an organization in our community that is living out our Unitarian Universalist principles. And if you have read about the Cleveland Interreligious Task Force on Central America and Colombia, you know that they are living out our Unitarian Universalist principles. Their efforts grew out of a tragedy, a violent tragedy. The murder of two Cleveland churchwomen, Dorothy Castle and Jean Donovan, at the hands of the El Salvadoran National Guardsmen. And today, IRTF works to raise awareness of human rights violations in Central America and Colombia, and it supports the rights of immigrants in Northeast Ohio. It holds a number of fairs featuring fair trade goods from Latin America and elsewhere. A lot of their work is stuff that we can't individually do. And also, they can't individually do it without the support of people like you. And so our congregation is enthusiastic to support their efforts in living out our Unitarian Universalist values in the larger world. And I invite you to give using our Cash App handle, which is in the it's in the printed order of service, and it also should be online for you to use. And now we'll have some music as I invite you to give generously. Thank you, Karin. If you're familiar with that song, if you have one more silver dollar, we're not going to ask you for that, but we are very appreciative of your gifts, not just to our community partners, but also to this church, because we couldn't do what we are doing without the time and the generosity of your pledges and all of the energy and expertise that you all provide to create this community. This is Song of the Open Road, or some excerpts from it by Walt Whitman. Afoot and light-hearted, I take to the open road, healthy, free, the world before me.
Henceforth I ask not good fortune, I myself am good fortune. Strong and content, I travel the open road.
I inhale great draughts of space, The east and west are mine. The north and the south are mine.
All seems beautiful to me. I can repeat over to men and women, you have done such good to me. I would do the same to you.
Whoever you are, come travel with me. However sweet these laid-up stores, however convenient this dwelling, we cannot remain here.
However sheltered this port, and however calm these waters, we must not anchor here.
Together, the inducements shall be greater. We will sail pathless and wild seas.
We will go where winds blow, waves dash, and the Yankee clipper speeds by under full sail.
Forward after the great companions, and to belong to them, they too are on the road.
Onward to that which is endless as it was beginningless, to undergo much tramps of days, rests of nights.
To see nothing anywhere but what you may reach it and pass it. To look up or down no road, but it stretches and waits for you.
To know the universe itself as a road, as many roads, as roads for traveling souls.
Thank you for sharing that reading with me, Amy.
It was fun.
You were on the road recently, were you not?
I was.
You went on a road trip with family,
Yes, yes.
and was it fun?
Oh, yeah. Good to get away as always.
Good. And did you have any rules with each other on the road of how you were going to travel?
Well, we have developed some norms. I don't know if you want to call them rules exactly.
Sure.
But kind of some unspoken agreements
Okay.
that have made it more harmonious for my family and less stressful. We've learned things to make things less stressful. For example, my partner and I have different sensitivities when it comes to driving. So for me, for example, I am fine kind of doing the inner city, driving around town. I don't mind being in unfamiliar places. Whereas if I have to drive a long distance, I start to feel really drowsy. So my partner is the opposite. She is good to go on the long drive as long as she's got some gum to chew, snacks on hand, and a little distraction here and there. And so we've developed kind of a system of, she does the long haul driving. So if we're going to drive 4 or 5 hours, she'll take the long spell. And then once we get there, it's on me to do all the rest of the driving in town and do all that stuff. And that just has made things a lot more peaceful for our family.
You figured out what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one other thing that we has kind of developed into we're training the 4-year-old on this one, but that if we have to stop to go to the restroom, everybody has to try.
Okay.
Right? Because
All
we don't
right.
want to be back on the road 30 minutes later. Oh, I have to go to the bathroom. So bio breaks are for everybody.
Yeah, that's an important
Yes.
agreement, and it's important to know that ahead of time.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, those are great
Yeah.
examples. I don't know how many of you have gone on road trips recently. I used to go on road trips with my family. And of course, I didn't share in any of the driving when I was with my family. My dad would usually drive. My mom would sit in the passenger seat and usually read a book. And my sister and I would sit in the back seat, usually arguing over who was on whose side of the back seat. It wasn't our job, but it was our role. And, as the driver, Dad got to pick what music was on the radio until we started complaining about the music that he was picking on the radio. And then he would be frustrated enough that he would change the station. But also because he was driving, we stopped at every historical monument. There was no plaque on the side of the road that did not need to be read. So we stopped because he was the one making those decisions. Now, as an adult, I've gone on road trips too, and it's a little more equitable. When Joy and I travel together, then we can ask questions like, does it need to be this cold in the car? Or can we change the music? Can we listen to something else? And we want each other to be happy along the trip. We want to enjoy the time together. And so we can make these requests of one another. I wonder what it is for you when you've been on road trips. Maybe it's, where do we stop to eat? Are we going to stop at just the fastest place that we can get in and out of? Or are we going to go someplace healthy? Who decides that when you're on the road? Sometimes you might want to really stop for a while and enjoy food before you get to traveling again. And if you're with people that don't want to do that, they just want to get there quickly, it can cause some friction. When do you stop for bathroom breaks? Is it okay if you're wearing your earbuds and off in your own private world while you're traveling? Or are you supposed to keep the driver awake? Are you there to kind of be in relationship with the other people who are on that trip with you? Just a lot of questions you have to answer when you go on a road trip. And I'm thinking about it because I think we might be on a kind of road trip with one another too. We're traveling somewhere together. We have a destination in mind. In fact, we have a couple of destinations in mind. For one thing, we say as Unitarian Universalists that we covenant together to affirm and promote some principles. They're back here. You may know them. But one of those principles is a vision of a global community with peace and liberty and justice for every person. A global community. Up here it says, we insist on a fair and peaceful world. But the technical wording is a global community with peace and liberty and justice for every person. That is a pretty bold destination. I'm not sure we can get there without knowing how we're going to travel together, without knowing where we're going to stop for food and who gets to pick the music and who's going to do the driving and all of that sort of thing. Here, specifically, we have a mission that says where we are going is we are going to be community within and without. We are about spirituality, searching and growing, and we are justice in action. Now, that's not who we are right now. We are that in some ways, but that's not who we are totally right now. That's who we aspire to be. We're doing things that move us in that direction. We're on that journey. We've got that destination in mind. We have a vision to be a large, vibrant spiritual community known for our warm welcome and fierce, compassionate commitment to justice. That's our vision. Your vision and my vision and all of our vision together as who UUCC is. When people think about the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland, we want them to think, oh, that's that large, vibrant spiritual community known for its warm welcome and fierce, compassionate commitment to justice. That's who we want to be. That's our destination. There's a journey to be made. We're going to have to make it together if we want to be that. Because that kind of vision, being known for our warm welcome and a fierce, compassionate commitment to justice, that's not something we can assign to a committee. There's a lot of things committees can do, and they do it really well around here, and I'm impressed. But that vision, that's going to take all of us. So how are we going to travel together? Are you still going to have me on screen if I sit down here and chat? Thanks, Sharon. Sharon is amazing. I don't know if you all know how amazing Sharon is, but sometimes we go on trips and we think that it really is just about getting there. Maybe we get on a plane and we want to get to our destination and we don't care who's sitting around us and we don't care about the flyover states. We just want to get from point A to point B, and that's all that matters. But if you've been in spiritual community for any length of time at all, you know that a lot of it is about the journey. It's about how we get to where we're going. We might not actually ever get to that place on the horizon that we're envisioning completely. We can get closer to it. We can approach it. But it might be such a big vision that we're not going to get there. Maybe not in our lifetime. But we can move in that direction. We have to move together, though. Which means that we have to take one another into consideration. How do we travel together and build a community that is just on fire for social justice. A community that warmly welcomes people with this kind of radical hospitality, not just come in and sit and be with us while we do our thing, and if you want to do the same things we're doing the way we're doing them, fine, but to be warmly welcoming of people, that takes a whole community. And we have to think about one another, not just about making sure I get what I want and what I need, which is easy to do. I mean, it's easy for me to say, I don't like the music we're playing on the radio right now. Can we please change the station? It's easy for me to know what I want. It's easy for me to know I want to stop at that restaurant right there and eat that food. But if I'm traveling with other people, I may need to check in with them. Is this okay? Does this work for you? How much longer do we need to listen to this music before we can change the station? And it has to be intentional, because there are so many places in our lives where it feels like we have to defend what we want, defend what we need. There are places where people kind of insist on things being a certain way. And especially if we are in any kind of marginalized or oppressed community, we might be really used to needing to make sure we get our needs met. That is priority number one. I'm not saying that's not true. That is absolutely true.